Hello guys and gals and peeps and peepettes and all you, whoever you are. I promised you I would show you the weirdest album, weird and unusual. And of course there's a lot of weird and unusual when it comes to my life, but I thought I would show you this. In particular, as I promised, I said the next day, but I didn't, you know. I get busy doing things, that's just how I am. But I promised I would show you this nonetheless. Creepy thing I bought. Heard this story not too long ago. It was, it's from the Ultimate Classic Rock website. Of course, I've seen it on other things. And it's about the Supertramp album. And the coincidence of 9/11. And, let me turn this down. It's kind of loud. Got my show and my station going. Very weird stuff. So I thought I would read it to you. If I can get it open, and I'll read it to you, because it's kind of interesting. Now, let me read you this. This is from the ultimateclassicrock.com/Supertramp, Breakfast in America 9/11 Conspiracy Theory. Of course, you can find it on all the websites. If you just Google Supertramp 9/11 Conspiracy Theory, whatever, it'll show up. And according to this website, it says, the history of classic rock is littered with albums whose covers have been scrutinized for hidden meanings. Most famously, the Paul McCartney is Dead rumor that led fans to look for clues across 3 Beatles albums. And of course, I did a show on this a few years ago. A more recent conspiracy theory suggests that the terrorist attacks of September 11th were a plot by the Freemasons, and they were hinting at it as far back as 1979. On the cover of Supertramp's hit Breakfast in America album, a nearly 3.5-minute video, which first came to wide notice after a 2016 report by Dangerous Minds outlines the scenario. Supertramp's famous cover is a depiction of the New York City skyline as seen from an airplane, with a waitress substituting for a Statue of Liberty holding a glass of orange juice instead of a torch. The juice is positioned in front of the Twin Towers and just happens to be the same color as fire, as you can see. The kicker is that if you hold the record in front of the mirror, an act required for nearly every rock conspiracy theory out there. Of course, this is a new one to me. There's a lot of them, but this is a new one. The U and P in the Supertramp looks like a 9 and 11. Of course, I showed you that. The band's name could be seen as a synonym for great whore, as in the Great Whore of Babylon. The of sin in the New Testament book of Revelation embodiment, and even the title Breakfast in America tells everybody when the attacks would be. The first plane struck on the World Trade Center 8:45 Eastern Standard Time. If that's not enough evidence, a plane is seen flying toward the skyline on the back cover. Of course, yes, in the little thing I'll show you. Need more proof? Stanley August, the Dutch millionaire financed the band in its early days, appears to be wearing a Masonic pendant in the photograph. I'll show you that, as you can see. And there you have it, 9/11 conspiracy theory. As you can see, the from a plane window, and the building's made to look like breakfast items and all that. Interesting stuff. Now, I'm going to show you something very, very, very interesting. I don't know if I can get it backwards, but I'm going to try and do it, because it is creepy nonetheless. Here is the album, and as you can see right there on the edge, I show you the album Breakfast in America, one of my favorite albums of all time. But as you can see, 9, it's supposed to be Supertramp. As you can see, Supertramp. But if you look at the SUP in reverse, it looks like it's saying 9/11 on top of the Twin Towers. Now the point of it is, The coincidences of it is the 9/11 on the Twin Towers, the orange juice made to look like a fireball. I don't know if I believe that. But the interesting part is the 9/11, the skyline of the World Trade Center towers, the picture of out the window of an airplane looking at the Twin Towers, and the waitress pretty much showing that it's in the morning. So you got the morning symbolizing the morning, the window, and the World Trade Center towers, and of course the P and the U, which backwards looks like a 9/11. So it is interesting. And if you do look at the back of the album, you know, I don't know if you see it. They talk about the pendant. I think it's what they're talking about. The pendant of, I don't really see it. But I thought it was interesting. It says, boy 13 dies in train horror on his newspaper. And it's pretty interesting stuff either way. Nonetheless, I don't see anything about a pendant. Maybe that was something else I was talking about. But Breakfast in America. And I always thought it was really interesting is the fact that that Take the Long Way Home is always it was one of the creepiest songs for me personally. Because I used to have these prophetic dreams growing up from the time I was like 5 or 6 till I was 18 was the last one I had. And the song Long Way Home would always play in the background. And every time I heard that song, or every time I had this dream, I would wake up freaking out, sweating. A few times I was running around the house acting as if I needed to flee, get out now, that sort of thing. I can barely remember a lot of it because, you know, I was 18 the last time I had one. I remember 2 rockets going in the air and the picture would fade out. 1 rocket going in the air, the picture would fade out. A picture of a man that you just see a shadow and that would fade out. A picture of 2 separate beds, it would fade out. A picture of one of my brothers ripping up a contract or some kind of paper, and that would fade out. A clock, grandfather clock that I believe read 3:15, but I don't remember the time exactly, and that would fade out. And a couple other things, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, it's been so long. But I would wake up freaking out, and the worst one, I woke up freaking out. My mother thought I was on something, but I wasn't. Because I was actually having a dream while I was walking around awake. So, and there were a few other details that happened while I was having a dream. I was awake, walking around, but I was dreaming in my head of being in the cockpit of a bomber and seeing the pilot looking like a skeleton with an old World War I helmet on his head, or, you know, one of those leather things, and laughing. Oh, yeah, also, which is weird, one of these scenes was the kid that got made fun of in Fat Albert all the time, was always made fun of in the cartoon Fat Albert. He was always depressed, but in this dream he was laughing for some reason, I don't know. But every time this would happen, I'd get up freaking out as if I was seeing disaster about to happen or something to that effect. But in the background, this album, this song, Long Way Home by Supertramp, was always playing. It was kind of a bad luck song for me over the years. But it's very creepy. And the odd thing about it is, the only thing I would think that was really weird about the dream is the Long Way Home song was playing in the dream every time I've had it. The same dream from the time I was 6, 5, until I was 18 years old. The creepy thing is, when I was 5 and 6, that was 1976, 1975. This album came out in 1979, so I can't explain it. You may not believe it, I don't know, but it happened to me, and so I can't really explain it. So, but anyway, it is creepy nonetheless, that 9/11 thing and all that. I didn't know it had a barcode on the back, but here's another weird thing. If you look at the bottom, if I can get it in there, Statue of Liberty as the waitress right there, and a plane flying into the statue with the Twin Towers in the background. So, which is very, and the song with the plane says Child of Vision. So I think that's a little ironic, being the fact that I kept having those dreams and everything. So anyway, it's a good album. It just creeps me out. And this is an original that I bought, not for that particular reason. I just happened to buy the album, and like a day later, I saw the post about 9/11 conspiracy with Breakfast in America, and there's the thing again with the, I don't know if you could see it, the woman with the plane in the end and all that. So anyway, interesting stuff. Thought I would share it with you. Go look it up. And there's all kinds of stories on it and everything. Believable, non-believable, creepy stuff, non-creepy stuff, all that interesting kind of thing. But here's another interesting part about it. If you don't believe that people use the eye, as in, you know, the Mason eye, or whatever you call it, people call Illuminati, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know what exactly the reason behind it or whatever. Here's an interesting thing that I bet you don't know. Most of your records, albums, musicians, whatever, have albums where they'll only show members with one eye. Like they'll show the sides of faces, or just one eye, like the eye of Horus watching over you. That's one of them, the Breakfast in America. Here's another one, the Police. If you look at the Police albums, Synchronicity, it's got Sting on the bottom, shows his eye. Half of his face is covered. Most of your musicians will do that on their albums. Maybe I think it's just a point of photography. It's just a style of photographs. But it is interesting nonetheless. And then here's another one with Hall & Oates, and he's only showing his side of his face. It says voices, whatever. But anyway, I think it's just a style of photography. But most people say, you know, the covering the eyes and all that, like Lady Gaga and everything. But anyway, that's an interesting story. Go check it out. Supertramp. Look it up. Supertramp 9/11 Conspiracy on the internet, and you'll find it on there. Anyway, check out my page, patreon.com/Ghostgetter, thenightbreedshow.wix.com/Ghostgetter to get on the website, listen to my shows, and my online station that's running 24 hours a day. And find me, Ghostgetter, on Facebook and Twitter and all kinds of stuff like that. That's where you'll find me on there. So thanks, guys, as I answer this probably Marco Polo thing. So until next time, guys and gals, appreciate it. It's like, see ya. Hi, this is a Ghostgetter. Be sure to listen to me Friday nights, 9 Central. You can also enter the chat room at thenightbreedshow.wix.com/Ghostgetter, or listen to the show at Jackalope Radio, Jackalope 105 FM, jackaloperadio.com, right here on Reverse 96 FM.
Common Sense Radio. Reverse 96 FM. Live with the Ghostgetter.